Welcome to another episode of Cinema Crunch. My name is Rose Donahue, and we're filming at the Quantum Arc Media Studio in Las Vegas, Nevada. We are long past the era of silent films. In fact, good quality audio can make or break a production today. So, to learn more about that, I'll be speaking with sound mixer Fernando Delgado. Thanks for joining me, Fernando.
Thanks for having me.
So, I said sound mixer as your intro, but you do things across the board in the audio industry.
I do.
So, how did that start for you?
I think it's partially a result of living in a smaller market, living in Las Vegas, and being a freelancer.
Okay. So you kind of picked up different skills to fit into different jobs?
Yeah, and I've been very fortunate in my career. I've had opportunities to spend time with people that specialize in different areas of the business, all related to sound. Mm-hmm. And so I've been able to pick up a bunch of really cool tips, tricks, and just the general process for a lot of different genres.
So, yeah, that being said, you work on commercials, you do live entertainment, films, sports. What are some of the different processes for each of those? Like, let's start with sports.
Well, live sports, for example, you have a 52, 53-foot TV studio that rolls into a truck bay at an arena.
Yeah.
And we're running cables throughout the entire arena, placing microphones, IFBs, courtesy listens for people, all sorts of different types of
It's a big space to cover.
That's out there, exactly. And so the process of loading in a big show like that, taking a show like that to air, dealing with talent that are working live right now, millions of people are watching you.
Right.
That process is a lot different than, let's say, a commercial, where we can do it over again,
right,
if there's a problem,
right,
and we have time to really analyze our environment.
Sure.
So, just the general process of even how we're recording stuff, we're using a lot of similar equipment. It all generally works the same way. But, on a live show, I've got a huge console inside of a big TV truck.
Yeah.
Where on a commercial, I have a small little mixer on a cart that is battery powered and I can take it anywhere.
Wherever you need to head in the space. So I was hoping we could do a little semi-rapid fire.
Okay.
Awesome. Quick tips depending on the event space.
Okay.
So.
Are you going to tell me like a goal also? Just go.
Ooh, no. Should I tell you a goal?
Well, I mean,
like what the type of content is. Mm-hmm. Let's start, and then I'll add the goals if it seems like necessary. Because you're probably right that it will be necessary. Okay. So, large room. You are recording a single person in a large room.
Okay, so I have questions.
Yeah, okay, great.
Does the large room...
The walls...
Are we recording this person in the large room on camera?
Yes.
Is it a wide shot?
No.
Okay. Totally changes the scenario.
Okay.
Because now I'm going to want to bring in things to muddy the sound or to deaden the room so I'm not hearing it as much. Whereas if I can see that we're in a big empty room, I want to hear that we're in a big empty room.
Makes sense.
Right. The audio has to complement the shot.
It has to match, right. Otherwise, it's disorienting for the audience.
Not very quick. But
no, that's the thing. When I said rapid fire, I said semi because I was like, I'm going to want an explanation a little bit. So
yeah.
So would you maybe build something kind of around the person
if I know that
close-up?
that's going to be the case, then I'll bring some deadening materials, and we'll talk to the client about that before.
Yeah.
One of the first things we always ask the client, what are the objectives? So if the objective is to record somebody in a large space but make it seem like it's a small space, we bring the materials needed to hopefully accomplish that.
Right. But if they're choosing a large space, maybe they want to highlight the space and then you accommodate.
Right.
Okay. 10 by 10 room. The floor, walls, and ceiling are all made of linoleum.
Okay.
Okay, this might be the most realistic one, but
I think
throwing it
if
out
we were
there.
doing, like, let's say it was in the context of a commercial, I
Okay.
would probably put some packing blankets on the floor,
Okay.
eliminate any footsteps or anything like that. I might hang some around the room as well, depending on, again, the shot,
Okay.
just to
That makes sense.
absorb some of the reflections in the room. That would
Yeah.
be a nightmare, though.
Yeah, I thought that would
be
be
like a
tricky.
bathroom,
Yeah, it would kind of be like, yeah, well, hopefully there aren't too many interviews happening in the bathroom, but maybe commercials. There's definitely commercials in the bathroom. So for both of those are kind of bringing non-tech equipment into the space to adjust. That's very cool. Okay, let me
Right,
see.
well, it's still acoustics.
Yeah,
and,
for sure. Yeah,
Technology can only affect acoustics so much.
right.
It's
Right. Okay, last one. Oh, no. Okay, I have two more. Hallway in a mall. Again, single person, maybe not super wide, mid-range shot, but there's people walking around.
I don't know that I would do anything to it. That maybe the only thing, depending on if it's a scripted thing or not, I might do what we call hush heels and silent steps,
Oh.
which is basically like foam and little caps that go on the bottom of your high heels
Oh,
to deaden
okay.
the sound on the floor, so that we can still shoot the scene and capture all the dialogue needed, but it lessens the environmental noise caused by all the people in the background.
And then in terms of the chitter chatter in the background, would the lavs be close enough to kind of only capture
It
the
really
audio?
depends on the environment.
Yeah.
And again, the content. If it's scripted, they're not actually making any noise, right?
Right.
We can capture all of
course.
that voila later, or deal with it in post.
Right. So just to
But if
clarify
it's like
for
a documentary,
right,
you might
more
not be able to
live.
do anything. But in most cases, a lav would probably be okay. And if I was booming and I had the right microphone at the end of my boom,
Right.
we'd be good.
Right. So that's the thing, for any scripted ones, background is told to be quiet, be silent during it, so you don't have to have that issue. But sure, for a documentary or live interview kind of stuff, it's different. Okay, the last one, simply because we're in Vegas, and I think every filmmaker has struggled with this. When you're under a flight path, any ideas on how to alleviate the sound of planes?
Don't shoot near a flight path.
Okay.
I have producers sometimes look at me like, well, isn't there something you can do? And I've told a few of them, I'm sorry, I don't have my airplane filter with me. Right? Which, of course, doesn't exist.
Yeah, right. Clarify.
It
Not
doesn't-
real.
It doesn't exist.
Okay.
And it's just, that is one of the challenges about being a production sound mixer in particular, is we go anywhere and we record mostly dialogue and sound effects. So getting clean sounds is the hard part of our job.
Yeah.
And that's why experience really makes a difference. Like you can have somebody that's younger and greener that'll go for hours and hours and hours, but will they place the right microphone in the right place to capture that performance that your talent has worked so hard to rehearse?
Right. And that each hour's another 100,000, however many dollars.
Right.
Yeah, you gotta get it right as soon as possible.
Right.
So we're talking about all these environmental things. What is the greatest challenge that you run into as an audio person, sound mixer?
It's a blessing and a curse. People don't really understand what we do.
Okay.
I have a music background, and a lot of people that work in music, musicians, producers, they know how to record and how to mix. They understand the process. So the people that do that type of work, their bosses have a really good understanding of what they're already doing. And so, like, if you're a camera person, that's the same on this side. Most directors have some kind of a camera background or a lighting background or something like that, so they can actually contribute to the conversation a lot of times. In many cases, people don't talk to the people in the sound department unless there's something wrong.
Okay. They figure, oh, okay, he's on it.
Right.
I don't have to worry about
and
this.
they don't know anything about it, and they don't want to know anything about it. It's kind of it's still a little bit of a mystery
Yeah.
to a lot of the people that we do this work for.
Sure.
So,
So explaining to them either like from the start, I imagine, kind of setting expectations must be a little bit difficult with some clients. And then if something does go wrong, having to kind of deal with that.
right. Yeah. I just try to be one step ahead of everybody.
Oh, that's a
As
good
much as
plan.
I can. That way, when they catch up to me, we're rocking.
Right.
We're ready to
You're
go.
like, oh, well, that's because this. I can check this off my list. Blah, blah, blah. Yeah.
Right.
That makes a lot of sense. Okay, so that being said, for someone who it hasn't been recorded or been interviewed before, what are some things that they should come prepared for if you're about to lob them up?
They shouldn't have to think about
They
me at all.
Perfect. Yeah, okay.
Yeah, they shouldn't have to think about me at all. My job is to simply capture your performance. So if you're my actor, I'm there waiting for your performance. You're never waiting on me.
Yeah.
You know,
Okay.
at the end of the day, you are the product in a
Right.
lot of ways, right? Or you're complementing the product directly.
Right, right.
And so your performance is the most important thing as far as I'm concerned.
Great.
And
So
that's
you-
why it's really important to be one step ahead.
Yeah. So that you create an environment where every other person can succeed in the work that they're trying to accomplish.
Right.
It's a team effort.
Right.
Yes.
Yeah, there's a running joke in the business too that they're waiting on sound. And I think because I heard that my entire career, I made it a point to where you're never waiting on me.
Right.
You know,
Good.
I'm,
Yeah.
I'm always one step ahead. I'm waiting on you, and when you're ready, we go.
Great. Yeah. So what are some other things you heard throughout your career that have influenced how you work now?
I don't know if it's anything that I've heard, but it's certainly people that I've worked with.
Sure.
You know, both
Okay.
positively and negatively. You know, I worked with some really high level people, and you look at them and their work ethic and how they show up and how they conduct themselves, and it's very clear why they're A-list, why they're at the top of the game. And you work with other people and you see how they work, and they don't show up on time, and they're disorganized, their head is in a different place, they're thinking about what they're doing this weekend or what, you know.
Not present.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And so I think I've just been very fortunate to have surrounded myself mostly with great people, and those few bad people that have come in and out of my life have helped me just as much.
Get stronger, improve.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't want to be like you.
Right. Identify the strong points and the weak points.
Absolutely.
Yeah, that's great. I was seeing online that you kind of examined people that you worked with and who was kind of happy coming into work, and that a sense of community was a common denominator between those people that you would work with and see. What do you do now to cultivate that community for yourself and others?
Yeah, absolutely. I think the people that I've worked with and observed over the years that are the happiest are the people that have a bigger sense of community overall, and they're always down to teach, and they're never too good to learn. And so our company policy is it's an open door. If you want to learn how to do what we do, and you can have a good attitude and just be kind and neighborly,
Yeah.
right? We'll show you
Yeah.
how to do it.
Yeah.
And that culture that we have in our office has put a lot of people into the field over the last 20 years.
That's awesome.
Yeah, more than I could count.
That's phenomenal. So they kind of come to you, start learning, and you'll take them on set when they're ready.
Yeah, and
kind of
it's
snowballs from there.
People at varying levels. Like there have been people that I have met that were working in a different part of the business that were interested in getting involved. So for them, it didn't take very long. We just had to basically learn their skill sets and
Right.
what, and off you go.
Right.
Where other people had no clue what any of this was.
Right.
And the best way I can explain it is it's kind of like almost like a motorcycle club, like a bike club.
Okay.
Bike clubs have what they call hang-arounds.
Okay.
Right? And these are people that want to be in the bike club.
Okay. And you have to go to the hangar.
But nobody knows if they can trust you. Right? Will you have my back
Right.
if things get ugly.
Right.
Right.
Right. Okay.
So these hangarounds do exactly that. They just hang around. They go to all the meetings. They, and they get abused by all of the members.
Okay.
And it's all a test, to see, can you hang?
Right.
Can you work with us? It's great that you're kind and you're showing up early and you're in a good mood today. But what happens when you're not in a good mood, and what
When
happens
it's a stressful situation, when we have a client that needs something immediately, blah, blah, blah.
And in order to vet people properly, we need to know you well enough to know what your strengths are, what your weaknesses are, how much can you take, what kind of pace do you work at. So over the years, we've just kind of developed this community of sound people, and some people work over here, and some people work over there, and some people are like me that kind of move around a lot.
Do it all. Yeah, yeah. Which, bringing back to you, you won an Emmy Award for your astounding achievement in live audio.
Yep.
Congratulations for that.
Thank you.
Yeah, live audio is something. And that was that for a sporting?
That was for HBO Boxing.
HBO Boxing,
yeah.
Yes.
It was back in 2005. It was a long time ago. But yes.
Still worth mentioning.
It was with my work with HBO Boxing.
That's
I worked
awesome.
with them for 20 years or so, on and off.
Yeah.
Since maybe not quite 20 years. About 2001 is when I did my first show with them.
Yeah, all right, nearly 20 years, sure.
And it was an intermittent relationship, but they were always one of my favorite clients to work with.
Oh, cool.
So in 2005, I was on a show that apparently won an Emmy.
Hey, why not? Yeah, that's great. And, so that was that... were you kind of doing the whole audio setup for the space? Okay.
No, I was what they call an A2.
Okay.
So in a live environment, you have your A1.
Okay.
Your A1 is the person that lives inside the broadcast truck and actually mixes the show. He's the one pushing the faders, bringing up the cues when the director is calling for different cues and stuff like that. Anybody that is not the A1 is an A2. Okay. And your responsibilities vary. On some shows, I would be the RF A2. So I would manage all of the wireless equipment, whether it was a wireless microphone, wireless IFBs, or wireless communications for any of the crew members.
Okay.
That was my world. Towards the end of my run with HBO, I was the what they called the booth A2. So I set up all the microphones and communications ringside, and I handed the right microphones to the announcers and made sure that they moved to the correct spots, and then I communicated to the A1 mixing in the truck. Jim has his handheld microphone, so he knows that when the director calls for announcers, he can bring up that microphone, and he knows that Jim's actually going to be there.
Yeah. Okay.
So
that's important.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
a lot of communication.
So that's basically what the crew, the A2s, are the group of people that basically take all of the equipment that's needed inside the venue and set up all of that equipment, and we communicate directly with the A1 to make sure that when he brings up a fader, or she brings up a fader, that it's the right thing at the end of the... Yeah.
Audio 1 and audio 2.
Yeah.
And there's many audio 2s potentially.
Yeah, depending on the size of the show.
Cool.
I've done some shows where it's myself and an A1. I've mixed shows where it's myself and an A2, and it's just the two of us.
Yeah.
And then I've done really big broadcasts where, there's 12 A2s.
Wow. Yeah. So there's so many different parts of the project to
Yeah, there's
facilitate.
just so many elements of it, and depending on how much stuff is actually, like how much equipment is out there. Like if you're doing an award show, the Billboard Awards or the Soul Train Awards or the Grammys, the Oscars, any of those.
Yeah.
The crews are huge.
Yeah, I
because
believe
there's
it.
a lot of moving parts happening during the show.
Yeah, the sheer size of simply the audio aspect of different shows is pretty remarkable to me. And honestly, I learned even more simply doing this research before we started our conversation. There was a show that I had been looking at that you worked on that had 70 plus audio channels, which I guess for an award show you might have had even more.
Oh, yeah,
Yeah.
easily.
Okay.
It could be hundreds.
Hundreds. Yeah. Okay. Between the announcers and the mic on stage and the side
Right. So
reporter.
If you were to take an award show in particular, if it's a music event,
Okay. Oh, yeah.
right, you could have 30 microphones per performance or more.
Yeah. Yeah. What's the workflow like for the team keeping track of each channel and making sure that it's up and running?
A lot of paperwork.
Really?
Yeah.
Paperwork.
A lot of paperwork.
Like everyone has a clipboard and making sure that it looks
yeah,
right?
I mean, yeah. At the beginning of a big event like that, the A1 would hand you, here's the paperwork, and this is where every single microphone, or every source, I should say, because it's more than just microphones, is coming into and out of the truck.
Yeah.
And so we go out and basically execute what's on the paperwork.
Yeah. It's important to have it written down.
Absolutely.
Yeah, it helps.
Even if it's digitally. I've done a lot of shows where it's like some people will do their show in numbers. And then if there's a change, we can go in and change it.
Yeah.
That way when we do that show again the following year, the following week, or whatever the case is, the paper's already been updated.
Cool. All right.
Paperwork.
Yeah. Sounds like, yeah. You got to get it done. Someone has to do it.
Absolutely.
Yeah, for sure. So for someone interested in getting into the audio sound mixing industry, what would be a good place to start?
I would say find people in your community. What in your community is being televised or broadcast? And meet those people. And meet people for realsies, not become Facebook friends or through some social network on the internet. Okay. Actually shake people's hands and develop relationships with them. And it's amazing when you do that and you're honest about what your goals are, people start throwing opportunities your way.
Yeah. Kind of identify what you're looking for personally and then put it out there.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Be on time, be honest.
Yeah, if you want to be a producer, find 10 producers in your area that do what you would like to be doing. Buy them a cup of coffee.
Yeah.
And ask them how they got started.
Totally.
And share some goals, find some things that you have in common. And one day you wake up and you've been doing this for 5 years and you don't know how you got here.
Yeah. Awesome. Well, is there anything else you'd like to share before we wrap up?
I don't know. I have no idea.
Yeah, I know, right. No secret other sound mixing tips?
Just don't be a jerk.
Okay, that's a good one.
That's the most important one,
a good life lesson across the board.
Be a nice person.
Yeah, okay. Note to self. Yeah, perfect. And where can we find out more about you and your work? To learn
most social media, Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, Stickman Sound.
Okay.
Just Google Stickman Sound and you'll find us. We're pretty easy to find.
Perfect. Cool. Well, thank you so much for joining me today.
Thank you for having me.
Definitely. And thank you all for tuning into this episode of Cinema Crunch. Again, my name is Rose Donahue, and we're filming at the Quantum Arc Media Studio in Las Vegas, Nevada. Catch you next time.